giants walk forever beside you, slow as time, vast as wonder. Good night, and thank you. Welcome to History for Sleep, where the ancient past flows like a quiet stream beneath the stars. Tonight, we drift back over 10,000 years to a world cloaked in silence and snow, where giants walked the earth not in myth, but in muscle and mammoth tusks. Imagine a single step echoing through the frost, heavier than a modern elephant, carried by creatures taller than a man and as long as a freight truck. In the twilight of the Ice Age, these majestic beings weighed up to 10 tons and roamed across frozen grasslands that stretched from Europe to North America. Scientists believe there were over a dozen distinct species, some with shaggy coats for braving Siberian winters, others smooth-skinned beneath the desert sun. Their bones tell stories of migrations that spanned thousands of miles, of survival and mystery etched in time. If you enjoy these gentle science journeys, I invite you to like and subscribe, or share a favorite fact in the comments. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. For now, there's nothing you need to do but rest. Settle in, breathe deeply, and let's begin. Long before the written word, before towering cities and glowing screens, there was an age ruled not by kings or empires, but by Earth's colossal wanderers. These were the mammoths, whose spiral-curved tusks could stretch over 15 feet long, forming elegant arcs like crescent moons carved in ivory. They lived in quiet herds, moving deliberately across tundras sculpted by wind and time. Imagine them at dusk, their shadows lengthening over snow-laced plains, their breath rising like mist into cold northern skies. Some stood as tall as 13 feet at the shoulder, with thick woolly coats that rustled like windswept grasses, woven to withstand ice and storm. They were not alone in their age. Beside them moved mastodons, shorter and stockier cousins with straighter tusks and forest-bound lives, quietly browsing among ancient pines. Together they formed an empire of silence that stretched across continents. Their reign measured not in battles, but in centuries of icy endurance and migratory rhythm. Their presence was timeless, etched into the earth itself. In the heart of this frozen empire, seasons turned like slow pages of an ancient book, each one bringing subtle shifts in light and landscape. Summers were brief, bright with endless daylight in the far north, and winters stretched for months, dark and bone-deep cold. The mammoths followed the rhythm of these changes, migrating along memory paths passed quietly through generations. They roamed in familial herds, led by wise matriarchs, whose years of survival taught them how to find food beneath snow and shelter among icy hills. Their enormous feet spread wide to balance atop drifting snow, while their curved tusks helped excavate buried grasses and shrubs. In the stillness of Ice Age twilight, their calls were low and rumbling, echoing like distant thunder across wind-scarred plains. And still, in that glacial hush, there were moments of tenderness. Young calves huddled beside their mothers, basking in the warmth of thick fur and ancient care. Time passed slowly in their world, each footstep sinking into millennia of frost. These creatures were not beholden to borders as we know them. They crossed what is now the Bering Strait, then a land bridge of frozen earth called Beringia, connecting Asia and North America during the peak of the Ice Age. This vast, treeless steppe was not merely a passage, but a living highway of life, rich with grasses and herbs, stretching for hundreds of miles. Alongside the mammoths walked bison, deer, and humans too, early hunters bundled in fur, their faces turned to wind, following the trails carved by the herds. The mammoth's journey across continents was slow but purposeful, a multi-generational odyssey guided by ancient instinct. These crossings, etched into the bones found by paleontologists, reveal a shared world between continents, a silent convergence of species stitched together by ice, migration, and survival. In their paths, we can almost hear the soft crunch of snow beneath massive feet and feel the hush of a wind that once carried the breath of giants across the most northern skies. Not all mammoths looked the same, nor did they live in identical worlds. Some of the earliest known mammoths, like the southern mammoth, roamed warm, grassy lands over 5 million years ago in what is now Africa. These early giants were tall and lanky, with less hair and straighter tusks, more akin to modern elephants than their later, woollier descendants. As Earth's climate shifted and ice ages came like deep inhalations of time, mammoths adapted, growing thicker coats, evolving smaller ears to conserve heat, and developing those iconic spiraling tusks. The iconic woolly mammoth, known to science as Mammoths primigenius, appeared around 400,000 years ago and flourished during the last glacial period. Its fur was layered with dense, insulating underwool and long guard hairs, a natural armor against the bitter winds. Its small tail and ears minimized heat loss, and even its blood carried special proteins for warmth. Across icy Europe, Siberia, and North America, they became perfectly tuned to the cold, not just survivors, but sculptors of the landscape, shaping the very tundra with their grazing patterns and migrations. Beside their shaggy elegance lay a rich tapestry of evolution, where each adaptation told a story of deep time and quiet resilience. The Columbian mammoth, one of the largest species, wandered the warmer regions of what is now the southern United States and parts of Mexico. It stood nearly 14 feet tall at the shoulder, with massive tusks that could reach 16 feet in length, gracefully spiraling like the arms of distant galaxies. Unlike their woollier cousins of the north, Columbian mammoths grew sparse coats, suited not for snow but for sun-baked grasslands and open savannas. They browsed shrubs and low trees with sweeping trunks, gently tugging leaves with the patience of age. Across oceans and millennia, dwarf mammoths emerged too, shaped by isolation on islands like Wrangel off Siberia's Arctic coast, their bodies shrinking through a process called insular dwarfism. These tiny giants stood no taller than a pony, yet carried the same grandeur in miniature. A lineage compressed by time, evolution's quiet spiral echoing on lonely shores. In the age of mammoths, scale was fluid, and wonder came in all sizes. Fossils and frozen remains offer more than glimpses of their shape. They whisper the ancient biology beneath fur and bone. In the permafrost of Siberia, whole mammoths have been unearthed, remarkably preserved by cold and time, their tissues intact, stomachs still full of ice age grasses. Some carried traces of pollen, revealing the seasons in which they died. Others bore scars that hinted at struggles, broken bones from falls, gouges from hunters, infections that twisted the tale of their final days. Scientists have even analyzed the hair of woolly mammoths, unspooling long helices of brown and russet like threads from a forgotten loom, each strand carrying molecular clues. Through these remains, researchers reconstruct not just bodies, but lives, their diets, their migrations, even occasional diseases carried across centuries. Every discovery adds another brushstroke to a portrait painted over epochs, a slow and silent unveiling of a world once dominated by these gentle behemoths. And still, beneath ice and silt, many rest undisturbed, waiting quietly beneath frost-layered pages of deep time. Perhaps most haunting of all is the lingering presence of mammoths in human memory. Long after their footprints vanished from the tundra, their spirits endured in story, cave art, and myth. Paintings found in the Chauvet and Rouffignac caves of France, some over 30,000 years old, depict mammoths in sweeping lines of charcoal and ochre, drawn by flickering torchlight on cool limestone walls. In Siberia, ancient peoples carved their bones into tools, shelters, and tiny figurines, binding survival with reverence. To live alongside the mammoth was to walk beside something immense and knowing, a creature whose gaze perhaps held the same quiet recognition we find in the watchful eyes of elephants today. Even long after the last woolly mammoths survived in isolation on Wrangel Island just 4,000 years ago, after the pyramids of Egypt were already raised, the echoes of their presence stirred ideas of giants and beasts in folklore across cultures. In these stories, and in the soil beneath our feet, they remain, not lost, but softly woven into the dream thread of Earth's long memory. As twilight deepens over the tundra of memory, one last wonder waits to be uncovered, the quiet question of whether these ancient titans could ever return. In laboratories across the world, scientists are carefully studying the frozen DNA of mammoths, whispering stories trapped in genes for tens of thousands of years. Through a process called de-extinction, researchers are exploring the possibility of reviving mammoth-like traits within their closest living relative, the Asian elephant. With tools of modern genetics, they attempt to stitch back together fragments of time, inserting woolly genes for cold resistance and dense fur into living cells. Though still far from reality, the idea stirs the imagination of shaggy forms once again roaming snowy plains, guided by instinct and memory reborn. Whether or not mammoths will ever walk the earth again remains uncertain, but their enduring pull reminds us of deep time's embrace and of the fragile thread that ties the ancient world to our sleeping present. In this gentle space between science and dreams, the mammoth lingers, half shadow, half spark, watching softly from the edge of forgotten ice. In the world of mammoths, time was measured not by clocks or calendars, but by the rhythm of seasons, the crunch of ice underfoot, and the slow unfolding of instincts passed from mother to calf. Birth, death, migration, all followed invisible lines drawn through the tundra, and within that quiet march, there were seeds of community. Young mammoths played beneath the lumbering watch of their elders, learning the language of trunk and tusk. They shared warmth and memory, nudged by curved ivory and brushed by thick fur, as stories passed not in words, but in footsteps and gesture. In ancient hollows, where wind howled and stars wheeled, they stood close, patient beneath northern skies. Around them moved the symphony of the Pleistocene, snow falling softly on lichen-covered stones, the distant crack of ice splitting beneath shifting seasons, and the occasional murmur of a fire-lit camp where early humans watched and wondered. For a time, the mammoths and people walked together, two branches of an unfolding tale written in bone, breath, and the long silence between the stars. As the mammoths moved through their icy dominion, they shaped their environment with each patient footfall. Their presence transformed ecosystems, crushing shrubs, fertilizing soil, sweeping snow aside to uncover new growth. In this way, the mammoth steppe was not just their home, but their creation. Scientists call it a keystone system, a frozen plain teeming with life, sustained in part by the very giants who wandered it. Herds of mammoths acted like natural gardeners, helping maintain open grasslands by preventing trees and shrubs from overtaking the terrain. This allowed grasses suited for grazing animals to flourish, drawing in countless other species, from rodents to predators, all woven into one vast tapestry of survival. Their tusks, trunks and massive forms were tools as much as limbs, engines of an ancient ecology that stretched from Europe to Alaska. And though they remembered no maps and spoke no words, the herds carried knowledge older than language, a wisdom written in seasons, in tracks fading through frost, in quiet harmony with the breath of the land. As we walk softly through this ancient world, we find that mammoths were not merely animals of fur and bone, but symbols of endurance, shaped by hardship and time. They endured volcanic winters, shifting poles, and the slow churn of continents. Generation after generation stood against glaciers that calved into seas and storms that could rattle mountains. They survived through cycles of abundance and scarcity, their lineage whispering across epochs. And yet, despite their strength, the mammoths met their twilight not in a single day, but through a long, slow fade. As climates warmed and human presence increased, their numbers dwindled like morning mist in the rising sun. The causes were many: hunting, habitat loss, and the unraveling balance of their delicate frozen world. Their final steps echo faintly now, muffled in ice and memory, but their presence endures like a deep breath held in the earth's lungs, waiting, perhaps, to be exhaled once again. In this quiet pause before sleep, their story becomes our own, one of change, of balance, and of legacy folded gently into the snow. In the still silence of ancient nights, under skies unbroken by city lights, the mammoth's world was a realm of shadow and frostlit glow. The stars watched them pass in unhurried lines, their forms barely stirring the snow beneath, their movements quiet as migrating clouds. In this world, there was no race to the end, only rhythm and return. Herds traced ancestral arcs along rivers frozen in song, moving in loops that mirrored constellations above. And beneath their steps, seeds stirred, waiting for the melt, for the rhythm to turn once more. To envision a night with mammoths is to recall the depth of time, not only as history, but as a feeling, like the hush before dawn, or the memory of wind across an open plain. Their story, though stretched across millennia, lives on in more than fossils. It echoes in genes, glints in shared ancestry, and lingers in the dreams we carry, dreams of great, gentle beings walking through snow, on through night, and into the soft quiet where stories rest and time slips into sleep. Chapter by chapter, the age of giants unfolds, not as a roar, but a murmur, a soft imprint on the tundra of memory. In this slowly turning world, evolutionary echoes still shimmer faintly in the bones of their living cousins. Modern elephants, the African and the Asian, carry the legacy forward, their eyes still touched by the same slow wisdom, their familial bond stretching backwards toward ancient migrations and snowbound dusk. Watch an elephant cradle its calf with its trunk, and see for a moment the ghost of a mammoth sheltering its young from bitter wind. The genetic distance is not so far. Scientists have found that mammoths and modern elephants share 99.96% of their DNA, a near mirror held up across time. And while the mammoth's bones may rest beneath frozen peat and their silhouettes drift through cave walls and winter dreams, part of them walks still. In every great beast wandering the savanna with slow grace, in the tremble of ground beneath heavy feet, the mammoth lingers, not extinct in spirit, but transformed, surviving in the cadence of memory and the rhythm of the earth. Even now, as night settles and breath slows, the tale continues, not with an ending, but with a quiet continuation. In pale blue vaults of frozen ground lie questions still unanswered, wrapped in ice like seeds waiting for spring. What lessons hide beneath tusk and tendon, in the spiraled stories etched into molar ridges and marrow. As Earth warms and ancient frost recedes, a new generation of explorers traces the past not by torchlight, but through microscopes and modeling clay, drawing lifelines between fragments of bone and the breathing world. Some researchers dream of rewilding lost ecosystems, imagining mammoths or their hybrids gently trampling snow-laden grasslands once again, reshaping the land not just as creatures of the past, but as catalysts of the future. It is a dream that stirs both wonder and caution, an echo of our bond with these vanished beings. For now, we listen to the whisper of science, to the lore of the land, to the memories written in ice. And so tonight, in the hush between the tick of stars and the turn of dreams, we leave footprints beside the mammoths, in frost and in story. Let the dust rest gently. Let sleep drift in, and let their footsteps fade softly into the snow. Long before scientists gave them Latin names or museums displayed their towering skeletons, mammoths were known simply as giants of the cold. Their bones, scattered across riverbanks and floodplains, were once mistaken by early civilizations as the remains of dragons or gods. In Chinese folklore, some believed they were earth-burrowing beasts trapped in underground caverns, surfacing only after heavy rains unearthed them. Among nomadic peoples of the Arctic, their tusks were revered not merely as ivory, but as sacred remnants of a vanished age. These interpretations, woven through centuries of myth and mystery, layered the mammoth's memory with reverence and curiosity. Even in the absence of full understanding, their forms stirred awe, casting long shadows in the landscape of the human mind. It is here, in the blurring line between science and story, that the mammoth still lives, not only in specimen drawers or DNA strands, but in the collective dreamscape of cultures shaped by winter and wonder. As winter winds whisper across ancient plains, the mammoth's legacy remains quietly embedded in the places they once roamed. In tundra, grasses returning each spring, in the quiet stillness over frozen rivers, and in the bones gathered gently from layers of earth, there lives a reminder of time's deep memory. Though they vanished in their bodies, the spirit of the mammoth persists. In the mammoth steppe revived by cold winds, in the silhouettes echoed by elephants under equatorial moons, in the hearts of those who study, imagine, and quietly remember. Their age was not lost, only paused, like breath within a frost-kissed dream. So now, with eyes growing heavy and the soft hush of night upon us, we return to stillness. Let their stories settle like snow across your thoughts. Let their footsteps soothe the dark. And as sleep welcomes you into its gentle hush, the mammoths walk softly onward, through memory, through time, and into the long, quiet night. Chapter by chapter, the ice tells of more than survival. It reveals a forgotten intimacy with the deep rhythms of the earth. In frozen lakeshore sediments and ancient pollen records, researchers discover how landscapes once bloomed beneath mammoth footsteps. Grasses shifted with their grazing, soils turned fertile under their paths, and fire cycles changed with the openness of plains they maintained. These giant beings were not just dwellers of their world, but participants in shaping it. And in our time, echoes of their absence ripple through tundras where woody shrubs now overgrow once spacious grasslands. Scientists studying climate change and biome restoration look back to the mammoth steppe for solutions, drawing parallels between ancient harmony and future hopes. Could bringing back the ecological role of mammoths, even through proxy species, help rebalance a warming Arctic? The question lingers, tender and profound, within the permafrost and in the breath of sleeping forests. As dreams deepen, so does our journey, pulled gently toward a time where every imprint in the snow spoke not just of presence, but of purpose, buried in history, yet softly stirring in the soil today. In the whispering corridors of scientific archives and icy excavation sites, researchers gather not only bones and data, but echoes of behaviors we can only imagine. Some mammoths bore signs of old injuries, healed over time, fractured ribs knit back together, hip joints worn by age, suggesting lives that were long, complex, and cared for. Were they mourned when they passed? Ancient elephant relatives show signs of emotional depth, lingering near the bones of their dead, touching skulls with quiet reverence. Perhaps mammoths, too, had rituals known only to them, grief held in silence beneath sloping skies. This empathy, this invisible bond across species and time, draws modern scientists and dreamers alike into their story. It is not just the mystery of their extinction that endures, but the quiet truth of their lives, how they gathered, migrated, protected, and remembered. In the drift between snowfall and starlight, we remember with them, not simply as observers, but as part of that same unfolding memory, suspended in the rhythm of deep time's breathless hush. And in that hush, the tale echoes forward, not through thunderous endings, but through recollections quiet as snowfall. The age of giants, when mammoths ruled the earth, lives on in more than fossils, in more than research papers or climate charts. It lingers in the delicate balance between extinction and memory, in the way a child shapes a figurine from clay, calling forth a creature of old. It dwells in the curling lines of cave paintings and in the solemn shelves of natural history museums, where silence gathers around ivory and bone. But most beautifully, it rests within us, in the gentle awe we feel imagining them beneath the aurora sky, in the softened breath of those listening now, their minds adrift on frozen plains. Let their great shadows walk beside you into sleep, steady and undisturbed. May your dreams carry the rhythm of their steps and the hush of distant ice. Good night. And may the giants keep watch over you in the long, quiet beyond stars. Beneath the thick layers of modern tundra, where reindeer now browse and wind sings through open valleys, entire mammoth graveyards lie waiting. In places like Yakutia in Siberia, hundreds of mammoth remains have been discovered, gathered in clusters that hint at both natural forces and ancient behaviors. Some bones are strewn as if by floods or predator activity, while others suggest that these vast cemeteries were habitual places, locations where mammoths may have returned repeatedly, perhaps to die, or perhaps drawn by unseen forces written into their migratory script. These sites hold not only skeletal awe, but also hints of young and old alike, of mothers and calves preserved in proximity, echoing the deep familial threads that bound their kind. In one haunting instance, remains of a baby mammoth were found so well preserved, her eyelashes were still visible beneath frost-covered eyelids. These resting grounds, caught between geology and grief, offer a final softness to their story, a reminder that even giants, in time, return to the earth, leaving behind the quiet contours of lives once grand, now folded into soil and starlight. In the abandoned stillness of the mammoth steppe, where grasses once bowed under titanic feet, signs remain faint and persistent. Frozen footprints, eternally caught in permafrost layers, tell of mammoths walking single file through snowy seasons now lost to time. Even ancient dung, preserved by frigid winds, contains seeds and spores that speak of the diets, climates, and plants of a vanished age. These traces, humble yet profound, are nature's footnotes, brief but revealing, captured in the margins of the Earth's ice-bound records. In northern Alaska, researchers have found these remnants alongside ancient pollen grains, unlocking microhistories of temperature, precipitation, and ecological balance. Like breadcrumbs scattered through time, they guide curious minds backward across millennia. And so the mammoths, though long silent, continue to speak, not in voices or roars, but through the imprints they left in soil and sediment, in fossil and frozen bloom. Their legacy is not merely grand, but granular, a story written not only in bones towering over museum floors, but in the smallest preserved traces whispering from within the Earth's ancient breath. Even in the silence that follows extinction, the mammoth's presence hums beneath layers of ice and time. Researchers today extract ancient DNA not only from bones, but from the very soil itself. Sedimentary DNA, sifted like fragile dust, holds echoes of vanished herds. In these genetic whispers, woven deep into frozen earth, lie traces of the mammoth mingled with other Ice Age giants and flora, forming an invisible map of lost worlds. With each sample extracted under sterile lights and microscopes, fragments of the Pleistocene emerge, dark strands entwined with light, past merging with present. The soil remembers, even when the air forgets. It retains secrets of climate and life, of coexistence and collapse. In its silence, there is speech. In its chill, there is memory. As scientists kneel before these frozen chronicles, gently brushing time from test tubes and slides, our understanding deepens not with thunderous discovery, but with quiet realization that even the smallest trace, lifted carefully from Earth's core, may carry the echo of a mammoth's step, still reverberating beneath our own. It is a kind of resurrection, not of body, but of belonging. The way these fragments remind us that we, too, are part of the same long arc of time. When we touch mammoth ivory carved by ancient hands, or gaze upon the curled fibers of fur brushed gently from frozen flanks, we are not simply observers of extinction, but inheritors of memory. The story lives not only in what science uncovers, but in the quiet awe it awakens. A world where mammoths once walked is not so completely gone as it seems. It lingers in the shapes of our questions, in the dreams shared under northern lights, in the hush that settles when we recall how vast and connected life has always been. So as the final echoes of woolly footfalls fade into the snowy veil of thought, may we carry their presence gently, not as ghosts to mourn, but as whispers of rooted legacy. Sleep now, to the rhythm of ancient herds, cradled in the slow drift of time. In the pale hush of Arctic summer, where the midnight sun casts long golden shadows that never quite give way to night, researchers scan the thawing earth with tools and quiet reverence. As permafrost softens under warming skies, new discoveries begin to surface. Slivers of tusk with the creamy sheen of ancient ivory, scraps of fur that once bristled against polar wind, even footprints preserved in once frozen mud. These finds are time's gentle reminders, emerging not with fanfare, but with breathless stillness, as if the earth itself is exhaling memories once folded deep. Each artifact, each strand, is a thread in an immense, patient tapestry, an unfinished story still being told. Through these unfolding clues, science doesn't simply explain, it evokes a quiet wonder for what once was and what still echoes through the chilled marrow of the land. So let your thoughts wander now, like herds beneath a low sun, slowly tracing the last ripples of this ancient epic, until all is soft again and still. Good night. Far beneath the feet of time, the Earth carries layered memories, strata of ice and soil that hold the silence of ages past. In core samples drawn from Arctic depths, scientists uncover dark bands of volcanic ash, ancient plant spores, and glimmers of carbon shift, each one a bookmark in a story written slowly across eons. Within these icy scrolls, the lives of mammoths are etched in fine detail. A sudden warming event here, a cold snap there, all reflected in the very chemistry of the ice. These frozen libraries reveal more than temperature or CO2. They whisper events experienced by herds now gone, seasons survived, challenges endured. And as the planet warms once more, these ancient layers unfold beneath curious eyes, fragile yet full of meaning. Every drilled cylinder of compacted snow becomes a quiet testimony to resilience, to impermanence, to the rhythm of the world humming always just beneath the surface. Let this rhythm lull you now, soft and steady, like the muffled heartbeat of a planet remembering its giants. Drift gently with it, deeper into the hush where science becomes dream and the past sleeps beneath ice. And as the ice releases its hold on ancient grounds, the question remains, what more might lie hidden, shielded by frost and time, waiting for the gentle hands of inquiry to lift it into day? Perhaps a tooth, smooth and heavy with age, or a sliver of bone still embedded in roots that remember the shape of giants. Perhaps even a strand of hair, catching the light like spun amber, whispering of wind and warmth long gone. In this final quiet moment, we return to the stillness from which the story came. Breath slowed, thoughts softened, and the world of mammoths lingering like snow in the mind. Let it remain with you now, not as noise, but as hush, paced and vast, like the terrain they once roamed. Sleep rests near, curling gently around this dream of giants who walked not beyond memory, but just beside it, their legacy folded into the earth's breath, heard in silence, felt in wonder. Good night, dear listener. Let the steps of the mammoth guide you quietly into the deep and dreaming dark. Their legacy, though buried in snow and softened by centuries, is not lost to silence. In museums lit by soft morning rays and in family books read at bedtime, the story of mammoths continues to soothe and inspire. Artists render their forms with care, sketching woolly silhouettes against snowy backdrops, while children mold their likeness from clay and imagine them marching across Arctic hills. Songs, poems, and lullabies remember their grandeur in tones both tender and distant, weaving them into the fabric of shared human imagination. The mammoth endures not only in genetics or sediment, but in the pulse of creativity, slow and steady as their forgotten migration. With every curl of parchment, every echo of trunk against sky, their steps resound anew. And so, as the final snowfall settles in your thoughts, let the mammoths wander freely through dream and memory. May you drift softly with them now, through a frozen dusk where time moves not in haste, but in hush. Sleep well, and let the giants walk quietly with you into the stillness of night. As dust settles over ancient plains and warm breath fades into the crisp cold of memory, the mammoth's chapter in Earth's story closes not with a crash, but with a whisper. Their tail, lifted gently across time, becomes part of our own, a shared thread in the great weave of life that spans ice, fire, and the delicate beating of hearts. And though their footsteps no longer press into snow beneath the stars, the echo remains, in the soil, in our stories, and in the quiet awe that stirs at the edge of sleep. So now, in this final hush, let the world fall silent. Let the stretch of ages wrap softly around you. Let the mammoths walk once more, not in the cold, but within the warmth of wonder and dream. Good night. Even from far beyond the boundaries of Ice Age tundra, the presence of mammoths has rippled through human imagination across continents and time. In North America, ancient petroglyphs etched into canyon walls in the southwest bear hints of mammoth profiles, their sweeping tusks carved with reverent lines by early inhabitants. Across Eurasia and the Arctic, oral traditions passed down through generations remember giants of the snow, colossal beings whose footsteps shaped hills and rivers. Later, when European explorers uncovered fossilized bones in unfamiliar lands, the mammoth's form re-emerged once more, fodder not only for museums, but for mythologies renewed. In this cyclical remembering, mammoths have become more than extinct animals. They are emblems of a world that once breathed with slower rhythm, colder air, and deeper connection. They have followed us through art and memory, teaching us of endurance, adaptation, and humility. And as the stars arc quietly overhead, their story settles deeper still, guiding our thoughts not into endings, but into the soft folds of remembrance. Let their shadowy shapes walk now not behind us, but beside us, gentle in our dreams, wide as the tundra once was, and as timeless as the hush before dawn. In museums, where quiet hangs like a gentle snowfall, and each echo feels like a footprint in time, the mammoth's presence radiates through carefully reconstructed scenes. Towering skeletons stand beneath vaulted ceilings, their bones suspended in stillness, their tusks arcing toward forgotten skies. Children stare up, small beneath ancient ribs, while researchers speak softly in corners, tracing lineage across centuries. Glass cases hold fragments, a sliver of molar, a brush of underwool, each one a tether to an age of giants. And though these relics rest behind labels and lights, they stir the same wonder as a windswept fossil beneath Arctic sun. For here, science becomes not only a study, but a sanctuary, a place where memory is preserved in shadow and structure, where mammoths walk again before sleeping eyes and kindled minds. May this memory walk with you now, long after the lights dim, quiet and enduring. Drift into sleep, knowing that some giants never truly leave the earth. They simply step softly, ever onward, into the corridors of dream. Among the most evocative objects left behind by mammoths are their tusks, long spiraled crescents of ivory, slow-growing records of life and landscape. Each tusk contains seasonal rings, much like trees, layers built one upon another through decades of growth. By slicing these relics lengthwise and studying their fine striations, scientists can decipher a timeline of nourishment, illness, pregnancy, and migration. Within just a foot of ivory lies a complex biography: winters survived, grasses eaten, paths traced across tundra. Some tusks curve in near-perfect symmetry, while others twist and dip, shaped by injury or climate stress. Occasionally, pairs are found still attached to skulls, locked together like outstretched arms around memory. These ancient tools were not only instruments of defense or display, but also keys to digging, to foraging, to holding close. And now, in the hushed corners of laboratories and collections, they speak once more, not in loud declarations, but in the delicate language of rings and gleam. Let their quiet stories curl beside you now, winding softly into the folds of time as night falls gently on the age of giants. Every so often, a tusk is discovered not buried, but carried, flushed from melting banks, washed down thawing rivers, or exposed by the gentle crumble of a hill, no longer held together by permafrost. These rediscovered relics feel fresh, almost awake, as though roused from a slumber thousands of winters deep. Local hunters and herders in regions like Siberia and Alaska report such finds with reverence, sometimes cradling them in wool cloth, sometimes placing them upright in the soil like monuments. Scientists handle them next, coaxing out their details with gentle tools and eyes wide with wonder. From base to tip, each tusk becomes a scroll of survival, recording drought, abundance, birth, and movement. And as the warmth of our age stirs old secrets from the soil, we are reminded again of that quiet continuity, that even in loss, there are revelations. So nestle now beneath the weightless cover of time's snowfall, letting the quiet pull of history carry you through sleep like a slow-moving river, its current guided by spiral curves and ancient ivory song. And so, in this final fold of night thought, as stars fade into silver and breath sinks with the slowness of ancient rhythms, we come gently to an end, or rather, to a continuing, for mammoths do not vanish completely, and neither do the stories we've shared. Within every quiet question, every sleepy sigh touched by wonder, their presence stirs. In the low rumble of thunder, in the patient drifting of snow, in the timeless pull of history making its way inward, they remain. Let the echoes of their steps carry you ever onward, not with urgency, but with the grace of time unspooling. Sleep now, wrapped in the hush of ice age wind and woolly silhouettes. Let the giants walk with you through dreams, and may the long road of memory be soft beneath your feet. Good night, and thank you for wandering through the age of giants, where mammoths ruled the earth, under the watchful sky of sleep and stars. Even now, as soft snow falls over forgotten valleys and frost etches lace upon window panes, the resonance of the mammoth era lingers, not in the noise of history, but in its quiet cadences. For all their size and grandeur, it is the tenderness of their story that endures most deeply, the slow echo of their presence wrapped into the stillness of time. And as your eyelids grow heavier, held by the hush of more than 10,000 years, know that these ancient beings walk still, through soil, through story, through the breath of night. Let the silence cradle you now, wrapped in tundra light and the curved peace of ice age dreams. May your sleep be long and gentle, and may the giants walk always beside you, quiet as whispers, deep as the snow. Good night. In the fading breath of the ice age, when the world was halfway between silence and awakening, a soft farewell passed through the corridors of frost. The mammoths did not leave the earth in fire or fury, but in quiet withdrawal, one step fewer each season, one herd smaller with each returning sun. And yet, they left behind a map of presence drawn not with ink, but with footprints, fur, and ancient echoes. As you rest tonight, listening to the soft rhythm of your breath, know that you are cradled within a planet that remembers them. In glacier melt, in tundra bloom, in the stories that find shape in the pause before sleep. So close your eyes now and picture them walking still, beneath the glow of auroras and through drifting mist. Let them guide you gently, not into the past, but into the quiet center of dreams, where time moves in circles and memory is always near. Good night, dear dreamer. Sleep deeply beneath ancient stars. From the quiet heart of prehistory, where the air once swirled with snow, and the weight of titans pressed gently into shifting frost, their presence hums on, not only in relics and reconstructions, but in the subtle way the past coats our thoughts when sleep leans near. The mammoths, with their steadiness and silent grace, remind us of the earth's patient storytelling, unfolding not in haste, but in seasons and steps. And now, as your breath evens and the world softens into shadow, let their ancient rhythm carry you. Picture their herds moving slowly across pale fields of time, their forms dimming into mist, yet never truly gone. In their memory, we find not loss, but lullaby, a cadence old as ice and deep as dreams. Sleep well, dear listener, and let the age of giants cradle you into a night where memory flows like snow, and tomorrow begins in the hush of wonder. Within the dreaming silence of time's endless corridor, the image of a lone mammoth standing beneath a pale moon waits, quiet, weathered, and eternal. Around it, snowflakes fall like memories, each unique, each carrying the weight of a vanished world. It does not trumpet or charge, but merely stands, swaying gently as if breathing with the land itself, embodying the slow pulse of history. In this moment, the giant is neither past nor gone, but presence, a bridge between then and now, shaped by endurance, wrapped in memory. As this journey comes to a close, may that solitary figure remain with you in stillness, a guide across soft tundras of thought and into the waiting quiet of rest. For the age of giants does not vanish. It lingers, dreamlike and deep, waiting to be remembered by hearts attuned to silence. Good night, dear traveler of time. Let your sleep be vast, gentle, and touched by the peace of ancient footsteps fading softly into snow. And still, beneath the snowbound quiet and centuries of sleep, the mammoth stirs within the warm corners of imagination. In their story, we hear echoes of resilience, migration, and change, all mirrored softly in the rhythms of our own lives. Their legacy teaches us that even great strength bows to time, and yet within that surrender blooms remembrance. The earth, too, keeps their song, whispered by tundra winds, pressed into frozen roots, etched in the spiral of tusks, long buried but never quite lost. As this gentle journey draws its final curtain of frost and calm, may you carry with you not just facts or fossils, but the feeling of deep time cradling the present, of ancient life walking quietly beside your dreams. Close your eyes now, and let the hush of giants guide you through the last fields of night. Sleep soundly, wrapped in their ancient peace. Good night. There is something enduring about the curve of a mammoth tusk, a shape that invites reflection, not only on their lives, but on ours. These great arcs, born of biology and burden, held stories in spiral form, not just of ice age winds and long migrations, but of persistence, adaptation, and slow becoming. They remind us that history need not be loud to be lasting, that gentleness too can leave deep impressions in the ground. And so, as night deepens and silence stretches soft as wool, we arrive at the edge of this ancient tale. Let the mammoths remain with you, not merely as distant giants, but as companions in your quieter hours. May their memory drift with you, silent and strong, into the warm dark of sleep. Good night, and thank you for dreaming with us through the age of giants. And now, we draw the final thread through this tapestry of ancient breath and frozen wonder. The age of giants was never merely a chapter in Earth's long book, but a whisper carried through veins of soil, across ice-laced plains, and within the collective hush of memory. The mammoths, great and gentle, taught that time does not rush. It waits, it circles, it returns. As your thoughts drift away like snow softening under moonlight, let their story remain close, not as noise, not as weight, but as rhythm, simple and slow. Let sleep cradle you now, wrapped in woolly echoes in the twilight of ages, beneath a sky where giants once walked and dreams still listen. Good night, dear traveler. May your rest be long and your spirit light, forever softened by the quiet steps of the mammoth through the dark. And so, with a final breath exhaled like mist from an ice age dawn, we let the mammoths recede gently into the tapestry of sleep. Their tale, spun through snowflakes and silent plains, has brought us through millennia of memory and mystery, carried on the backs of giants who once knew the world in its rawest form. Across the frozen steppes and thawing dreams, their story moves not toward an end, but into the still places of the mind, where hush becomes knowledge and wonder becomes rest. Let the soft curve of their ivory guide you through the last stretch of night, and may your dreams tonight be long, slow, and rich with the echoes of ancient breath. Good night, gentle listener. Sleep deeply, and let the mammoths walk quietly with you, one footprint at a time, into the snow-lit silence beyond stars. Across centuries and continents, mammoths have left more than impressions in snow and sediment. They have etched themselves into the shared rhythm of all who dream deeply of what came before. In their silence, we find reflection. In their endurance, we sense continuity, a lesson cradled not in textbooks alone, but in the slow wonder of the natural world. And now, beneath velvet shadows and a hush as wide as the sky, their story rests with you. Feel the quiet presence of woolly herds just beyond the boundary of thought, their forms softened by sleep and slowly drifting into night. Let the tale of the age of giants complete its circle, fading not to vanish, but to remain, steady, soothing, and close. Sleep well, dear listener, beneath the star-strewn vastness of history, where the footsteps of mammoths still echo softly into dreams. Good night. And under the last curtain of this glacial tale, as night stretches its velvet limbs across the earth, we pause, not in ending, but in deep stillness. The age of giants drifts into the realm of dreams, where time curls inward, and the cadence of memory pulses slow and sure. Mammoths, once mighty and many, now roam through our thoughts like shadows on snow, delicate and enduring. Their journey, like the turning of stars, continues in silence, in breath, in the quiet beat of sleeping hearts. Let these final moments settle like frost upon the window of your mind, exquisite and unspoken. The giants have walked with us, and now they watch over rest, not from afar, but from within. Sleep now, wrapped in remembered footsteps and the gentle hush of mammoth dusk. Good night, and may your dreams be vast, slow, and full of snow-lit peace. In this final breath of frost-bound reverie, we release the last echoes of the mammoth's path, not with noise or sorrow, but with reverence and rest. Their journey becomes a lullaby threading through the folds of night, a rhythm so old it needs no voice. Beneath drifting stars and silvery winds, the giants return once more to stillness, as all things do. You have walked with them across ages, past glaciers and forgotten plains, through silence bolder than words. And now, let yourself drift as they once did, wrapped in twilight and memory, floating softly into sleep. Close your eyes, feel the warmth of dream gather, and know that the age of giants does not end. It simply fades peacefully into the quiet. Good night, dreamer, and thank you for wandering with us, one slow step at a time, through a history held gently in the snow. Now we release the last thread, tangled softly in the folds of ancient cold, where the mammoth's breath mingled with the first light of dawn. Their time was not merely past, but passage, from roaring tundra to remembered hush, from frozen steppe to flickering dream. And as you lie still now, embraced by sleep's gentle shadows, their journey dissolves into yours, across snow that no longer falls, and winds that no longer howl. They walk beside you, not ahead or behind, but in rhythm, as if sleep itself were a memory shaped in wool and tusk. So let go now, not of their tail, but of time itself. Let the world drift like ice flows into silence. Let the mammoths fade as softly as they came into the last breath of night's lullaby. Sleep well, dear dreamer. The age of giants continues, not in noise or stone, but in the quiet place where wonder waits and stars sing you softly home. Here, at the close of this long wandering, we stand not at a conclusion, but at an opening, a doorway into the hush that echoes with the slow beating heart of the deep past. The world has changed since the mammoths last traced their paths across open fields of snow, but the patterns remain, in the loops of memory, in the soft call of landscape, in the cycles of living and letting go. So turn now gently towards sleep, where fields still stretch forever and woolly shapes drift slowly along the edge of dream. Let their presence settle like a final snowfall, quiet, complete, and full of meaning beyond measure. Thank you for walking beside the giants. Good night, and may you be carried through your rest by the rhythm of ancient footsteps, soft as starlight on snow. Within the stillness of this final moment, as eyelids draw closed and breath flows steady, the last whisper of the mammoth's journey comes to rest. Their tail, carved through time like wind across a frozen plain, has woven itself into the soft tapestry of sleep, no longer seen but felt, like a deep memory gently stirring in the folds of dream. The giants of the Ice Age speak now only in silence, a silence rich with meaning, echoing through forests long vanished, through songs never sung. Tonight, as the hush of ages folds once more around the heart of night, their steps grow slow, dissolve into snow, and settle into peace. Thank you for walking with them, for listening with care, and for allowing the story of giants to wander with you into the quiet. Sleep well now, dear listener. The age of mammoths has ended not with a roar, but with your sigh of sleep beneath the stars. And so, as the flicker of ancient memories begins to dim, and the soft veil of dream settles fully across your thoughts, we let the age of giants drift peacefully into rest. The mammoths, those quiet stewards of cold time, have guided us gently across the snowy epochs and back again, not with footsteps, but with wonder. Their presence lingers not in the weight of the world, but in its silence, in the unnoticed hush between stars, in the wind's low breath across a winter field. Tonight, as sleep draws closer than thought, may their memory hold you gently, like the earth held their bones beneath thawing ground. Let them remain softly etched in the resting corners of your mind, not as ghosts or relics, but as companions in this final lull. Sleep now, dear listener, cradled by the deep rhythm of ancient time. The mammoths walk with you still, one last step echoing into the hush, and all is quiet once more. Good night. In the soft hush that remains, after the final step fades into snow and the last breath curls into the frozen air, the spirit of the mammoth settles into stillness, not gone, but returned, to memory, to wonder, to the silence from which it rose. This was not just a story of creatures once mighty, but of Earth's long patience and of bedtime hearts opening to ancient rhythms. Let the woolly shadows drift now beyond the veil of sleep, their echo a lullaby folded in frost and time. Thank you for listening, for imagining, for wandering slowly through the frozen echoes of prehistory. As we close the chapter on this long and gentle journey, may the mammoths walk beside you just a little longer, quiet and kind in the snowfields of your dreams. Good night, and rest well. And now, beneath the final snowfall of this long and quiet journey, we close our eyes as the last echoes of the giants grow still. The mammoths, wrapped in layers of time and twilight, return once more to the fabric of the earth, to the stories we tell, the memories we carry, and the peace we seek in darkness. Their path, treads softly across 10,000 years, has touched our hearts not with noise, but with the deep hush of understanding that all things loved and lost return in some gentle way. So as you drift now into sleep, held quietly by dreams in the rhythm of snow, let the mammoths remain, not disappearing, but dwelling softly in the warm, timeless chambers of rest. Good night, dear listener. Sleep deeply. Let the age of giants walk with you always, one soft step at a time through the world of dreams. And so, at the threshold between waking and sleep, the story of the mammoths rests beside you, not vanished into silence, but folded tenderly within it. Their age may be past, their forms long returned to the earth, but their echo remains, not in roaring memory, but in the soft rhythm of breath and the gentle unfolding of dreams. Like constellations born from ancient shadow, their presence lingers in the way stories are remembered not with urgency, but with warmth. Wrap yourself now in that memory, of tusks like crescent moons, of slow herds beneath a cold sun, of a world vast, quiet, and full of wonder. It is time to sleep. May the comfort of these giants guide you through the final hush of night. Let your thoughts settle like snow, and your dreams stretch wide beneath the stars. Good night, dear listener. Sleep deeply, and let the age of giants cradle your rest until morning's light. And beneath the soft veil of ancient sky, where only memory and snow remain, we bring this dream to a close. The age of giants, filled with quiet breath and woolly shadows, now folds into the deepest corners of the sleeping world. Let your heart beat slow to the rhythm of their unseen steps, and feel your thoughts drift gently like frost across still earth. For in this hush beyond time, you are never alone. Each echo, each curve of tusk and story rests beside you. Sleep well, dear dreamer, and hold close the song of the mammoth, now and always, in the luminous dark of night. Good night. And now, as the final echoes melt into stillness and the last snowflake settles upon the tundra of your thoughts, we close the circle with calm hearts and quiet minds. The mammoths have walked beside us through layers of history, through landscapes long changed, yet never truly gone. Their story, vast and slow as drifting ice, becomes part of our own, woven gently into the silence that follows every breath. In the subtle light of sleep, their presence remains like a lingering star caught between dreams and dawn, reminding us that even the mightiest fade, not with finality, but with peace. So rest now, with the softness of the ancient earth beneath you, and let this night carry you gently onward, safe, quiet, and still. Good night, and thank you for walking through the age of giants, one timeless step at a time. In this final serenity, as ancient tundras fade into velvet shadow and breath softens beneath the weight of time, we offer the last hush to the mammoth's tale. What began as a whisper from frost now rests as a lullaby in the soul, each tusk, each footprint, each snowbound gaze folded carefully into dream. You have walked among them, felt the rhythm of their age, and now their silence is yours to keep. Let the memory drift, not behind you, but within, a gentle presence in the tapestry of sleep, where nothing is truly lost, only transformed. Good night, gentle dreamer. Sleep long and well beneath stars that watched giants pass, and may their peace stay with you always, through every soft breath of night. And at the edge of this tapestry of ancient quiet, we say farewell not to the mammoths themselves, but to the long story we have wandered through, one of snow-laced paths, of slow-footed herds beneath aurora skies, of science brushed softly with wonder. Their legacy, cradled deep within the earth and deeper still in our minds, will not fade but settle, like stars reflected in still polar waters. And now, as night folds itself gently around your rest, may their memory remain not as weight, but as warmth, an enduring rhythm beside your breath. Sleep now, and let this final hush be the softest of all, where time stills, and the age of giants continues quietly in the silence beyond sleep. Good night. And so, wrapped gently in the silence of ancient winds and moonlit snow, we complete our slow journey through the world of mammoths. Their story, carried not in noise but in the quiet resonance of time, becomes a lantern in the dim corners of memory, flickering steady and low. Across the frozen centuries, they moved with grace, shaping landscapes and hearts alike, and in doing so, they became more than creatures of bone and ice. They became reminders of resilience, of change measured in shadows and steps. Tonight, their path fades gently beneath the stars, joining the rhythm of your breath and the softness of sleep. Good night, dear listener. May your dreams carry you gently onward, alongside the last quiet echo of the giants. And here, where the journey steadies and the hush deepens fully into night, we leave the footprints of giants behind us, not erased, but gently fading into the landscape of rest. The age of mammoths, vast and slow, now curls into your dreaming mind like fog over frozen grass. Their presence remains with you, not as weight or sorrow, but as a soft knowing, a rhythm older than words. Beneath the turning stars and layered time, their memory settles into the folds of sleep, familiar, slow, eternal. Let it cradle you now, through the last quiet of winter thought, and onward into morning's peace. Good night, and may the giants walk with you always, softly and unseen, through the endless quiet beyond the dream. And now, with breath as soft as drifting snow and the stars dimming slowly into morning haze, we close the final page of this endless journey. The mammoths have carried us gently through the hush of prehistory, through wind-numbed plains and the careful cadence of time. Their story, like a lullaby traced upon frost, remains, not in the weight of the earth, but in the lightness of thought just before sleep takes hold. As you rest here, at the boundary between memory and dream, know that these giants have not truly vanished. They walk ahead in the quiet, as guardians of old rhythm, watched only by the slow-turning sky. Thank you for drifting with them. Good night, dear traveler. May your rest be deep, your dreams wide, and your heart still, wrapped in the peace of ancient snow. And now, as the final snowflake settles onto the quiet tundra of your thoughts, we let the last notes of the mammoth's lullaby dissolve into the hush of sleep. Their footsteps, once bold and bearing the weight of ages, now drift gently through the soft folds of time, echoing only in the stillness where dreams are born. This journey, long and calm, has brought you through icy winds and silent herds, through tusk and shadow, story and song. And as eyelids grow heavy and breath slows to the rhythm of ancient earth, let the giants walk just one more step beside you, not outward into history, but inward, toward peace, memory, and the vast, quiet heart of night. Good night, dear listener, and thank you for walking faithfully through the age of giants. Sleep deeply, and let the silence carry you home. Here now, At the final threshold of this snow-swept reverie, we linger in a pause held open by time itself. Around you, the icy world of giants quiets once more, light dimming gently across frozen plains that remember. The mammoths, whose great hearts moved with the pulse of an older earth, have departed not with farewells, but with stillness, leaving behind not absence, but a hush as deep as the soil they once stirred. Let this pause be your resting place, wrapped in the warmth of story and the breath of ancient memory. Sleep now, knowing the age of giants will walk forever, where curiosity meets silence, and where dreams unfold like snow across an untouched field. Good night, dear listener. Your journey is complete, soft as wool and timeless as stars. And so we arrive at the closing breath of this long, quiet passage, not with a flourish, but with the measured peace that echoes through the deep folds of time. The age of giants, once stretching broad across continents of ice and sky, melts gently into dream, into stillness. The mammoths, mighty and tender, have journeyed with us through frost and firelight, through science and story, until they are no longer just a part of the past, but of the quiet space within us where wonder dwells. As sleep draws its soft curtain across your thoughts, may you carry their rhythm with you, slow, steady, and kind. Let the memory of their breath, their steps, their gaze, linger like the last snowflake on a closed eyelash. Sleep now, deeply and peacefully, under the protective hush of ancient giants, whose story ends not in silence, but in the calm continuation of dreaming hearts. Good night. Let this final breath of story rest now beside you, as the mammoths themselves once rested beneath soft drifts of snow and starlit silence. What began as a journey through frozen time becomes a lullaby, tucked quietly into thought and dream. Their age, though past, does not vanish. It lingers where stillness settles, in the pause between heartbeats, in the quiet held by sleeping earth. You have walked where they walked, in wonder and calm, and now there is nothing more to do but rest. Let the hush of their presence wrap around you like winter's breath against skin, gentle and enduring. Sleep now, dear listener. The age of giants has walked with you through every moment of this night, and their final step leaves behind peace. Good night. So with sleep now cradling your breath and snow gently brushed across the dreams you keep, we let the memory of mammoths rest once more within the hush of time. Their story has not concluded, but woven itself gently into your stillness, a soft echo that breathes in silence and wonder. The giants have returned to the quiet they came from, leaving behind a world shaped by their passing and softened by your remembering. Let the stars close their eyes above you. Let the frost settle quiet upon ancient ground, and let your thoughts fade tenderly into the night. This is where the journey ends, not with goodbye, but with the peaceful turning of the world beneath the weightless memory of giants. Thank you for wandering slowly through the age of mammoths. Good night. And in this final drift of silence, where breath calms and thought begins to dissolve into sleep, the age of mammoths settles like snow over the soul. No longer beasts of frozen plains, they become soft contours in the shape of memory, in the lull between awareness and the dream. Their steps fade not because they are forgotten, but because they have come home, to the heart of rest, to the layered stillness where all ancient things return. So surrender now fully to the night, to the quiet that remembers without sound. Let the woolly silhouettes dissolve into the folds of your subconscious, and may you carry their hush gently into dawn. The journey ends, but the wonder remains. Sleep now, wrapped in the peace of ancient echoes. And from all who remember the footfalls of giants, good night. As the last stars dim behind the veil of coming day and calm settles like frost upon the edge of dawn, we close the journey with gentle thanks. The memory of the mammoths, vast yet intimate, ancient yet ever near, now belongs to the quiet space you've carved tonight, one filled with awe, softness, and stillness. Let this be the place you return to, beneath layers of rest, whenever the world grows hurried and loud. For in this shelter of soundless snow and woolly dream, there is always a path back to peace, walked slowly and side by side with giants. Rest now, dear listener, and let sleep carry you the rest of the way. Good night, and may the hush of the mammoth follow you softly into morning light. And now, dear listener, as we come to the final hush of this long and gentle journey through frozen time, the mammoths take one last quiet step across the snowy plain of our shared imagination. Their story, vast, soft, persistent, drapes itself across the contours of your closing thoughts, not as burden, but as comfort. The earth remembers them, and so do we, in silence and slowness, in awe and peace. Let this final breath be still and deep, like snow resting undisturbed above ancient ground. Sleep now, wrapped in the memory of giants, and wake gently, knowing you carried the age of mammoths safely through the night. Good night. And so, beneath the final hush of snow and time, we close our eyes alongside the giants who once watched the world from beneath stretched skies and aurora's glow. Nothing more must be said, for silence speaks better now, holding within it all the questions, the dreams, the deep and hushed truths that their story leaves behind. Let your rest be long, and your dreams shaped gently by wool and wind, by the solemn curve of ivory and the ancient beat of migrating hearts. Sleep now, dear soul, for the age of mammoths is safely folded into the cradle of night. Thank you for journeying through it, slowly, softly, together. Good night. Let this final knowing carry you gently forward, not away from the mammoths, but deeper into the quiet they have become. Their echoes soften now into memory's snowdrift, their silhouettes melting into the landscape of calm that surrounds sleep. What they taught us will never vanish, that strength can be silent, that survival is grace turned to rhythm, and that nothing fully leaves if we choose to remember. So now, with stillness cloaked around you and time slowed into breath, rest in the presence of all that remains, stories whispered from ice age winds, footsteps stretched across ages, and the promise that somewhere, in frost-kissed dreams, the giants forever walk. Good night. And here, finally, drawn close by the slow fold of night and the stories we have walked together, the age of giants comes to rest. The mammoths, quiet in their leaving, have become part of us, not only as impressions in frozen ground, but as constellations mapped within memory, soft and continuous. As your breath deepens now and dreams gather like snow around a silent grove, know that this journey does not end in silence, but becomes one. A breath, a step, a drift into rest. Thank you for listening, for wondering, for carrying the echo of these ancient beings deeper into the gentlest corners of sleep. Good night, dear traveler. May your rest be whole and your dreams long, beneath the still watch of the mammoth dusk. And with the last breath of this long, snowy passage, we close our eyes to the softest of farewells. The mammoths, who have led us with slow grace across the frozen contours of deep time, now rest in the quiet we carry forward. Let the hush of their kind linger not in the distance, but within, a gentle presence folded into every breath, every pause before the next dream begins. Their age was one of echoes and stillness, of wool-draped landscapes and long memory, and now, as the stars dim and the hush draws complete, let them pass like snowfall over the heart, light, vast, and eternal. Sleep well, dear listener, and thank you for walking the path of giants, one soft step at a time. Good night. And so, with breath slowed and the final snowflake of story settling gently upon your sleep, the world of mammoths closes its eyes beside you. Their tale, immense and quiet, now rests as whisper and warmth, folded into the stillness that follows wonder. In that stillness, the giants remain, not as relics, but as rhythm, deep and enduring, echoing softly through the frozen valleys of memory and the wide, dreaming fields of night. Let this be your final exhale, your last drifting toward rest, where mammoths walk no longer across tundra, but along the quiet path within you. The journey is whole. You are safe. All is soft. All is silent. All is sleep. Good night. And here, where silence cradles the very breath of time, we reach the final fold of our journey together. The age of mammoths rests now in the hushed snowdrift of memory, not as something lost, but as something deeply remembered, still walking, quietly, within the rhythm of wonder. Let the soft echo of their long-forgotten steps become a lull in your thoughts, guiding you gently toward stillness. May your dreams tonight be vast, slow, and filled with the peace of ancient herds moving in unbroken lines beneath starlit skies. Thank you for listening. Thank you for remembering. And thank you for sleeping in step with the giants of old. Good night, dear soul, and rest well in the long quiet beyond. And now, with all stories softly told, and the hush of deep time wrapped around us like fur against a glacial wind, we arrive at the final embrace of the night. The age of giants, walked slowly through breath and snow, now folds itself tenderly into your rest, leaving behind no roar, no end, but a quiet continuation of memory, of rhythm, of peace. As your thoughts drift like pale auroras across the dark sky of sleep, may you carry the presence of the mammoths within you, not as shadow, but as shelter. Close your eyes now, and let their ancient steps walk with you, one last time, into the heart of silence. Good night, dear listener. The dream of giants rests beside you always, and the long, slow hush of their world watches over your own. And now, as your breath and the earth seem to move as one, quiet, slow, steady, we leave behind the last ripple of frozen time. The mammoths, once vast and sheltering, dissolve into the hush they've become, their memory folded not just into bones or books, but into this sacred silence we now share. Let their story settle beside you like fresh snow over carved ground, filling in the spaces between history and dream. You have walked the path well, alongside echoes too gentle to vanish and shadows too cherished to forget. As morning waits just beyond the edge of sleep, may your rest remain deep, undisturbed and warm with the presence of quiet giants. Good night, dearest listener. Until the next journey calls, stay wrapped in peace. Let this final hush be the gentle closing of a long, star-swept memory, where mammoths, in all their woolly grace, have guided your thoughts through frozen epochs and into the quiet heart of sleep. The story lives on, not louder than dreams, but softer than silence. A presence felt more than seen, enduring beyond the reach of time. Now, as eyelids fall like snow and breath flows like wind across an empty plain, lean into stillness. Rest in the knowledge that you walked with the giants, and they with you, beneath skies ancient and tender. The journey is whole, the night is deep, and you, dear dreamer, our home. Good night. And thus, beneath the final curtain of glacial dusk and over the whispered plain of deep time, we close this story as gently as it began. The mammoths return now not to extinction, but to the folds of your stillness, carried forward in the soft breath of dreams and the patient rhythm of memory. Within your rest, they linger, not as creatures apart, but as guardians within, walking slowly beside the quiet turning of thoughts. Let this be your final exhalation, your passage from waking into the deep sanctuary of sleep, where giants tread softly and the past moves through shadows with gentle grace. Sleep now, cradled in the hush of ancient snow, and may the peace of their age guide you always through the silent corridors of night. Good night, dear traveler. Rest well beneath the woolen cover of time. Here, in the quiet closing where nothing moves but breath and thought, we lay the final stone upon the path walked by mammoths and memory alike. Their long-lost world slips gently into the folds of sleep, not as a departure, but as a lasting imprint, soft, persistent, and profound. Just as snow still falls where they once wandered, their story drifts down to settle within us, a hush beneath all waking sound. Tonight, as your thoughts slip into silence and dreams deepen like ancient frost, know that you are not alone. The giants walk close still, in rhythm with the steady pulse of night. Rest now, wrapped in woolen echoes and shadowed peace. Sleep deeply, dear listener, for the age of giants ends not in forgetting, but in the timeless quiet we now share. Good night, and thank you for dreaming with us through the hush of history. And now, as we take one final step into the calm beyond words, the snow has settled, the footprints have faded, and the mammoths sleep once more in the hush of deep time. Their presence, vast and silent, drifts endlessly through the quiet places inside us, a gentle rhythm of remembrance carried on breath, on story, on dream. We leave this world not as strangers to giants, but as companions to their memory, softened and still beneath the weightless hush of stars. May your rest be long and serene, held in the slow spiral of history and the peace that follows wonder. Good night, dear listener. Let the giants walk with you always, beyond the edges of sleep, into the soft eternity of silence. And here, as the final snow settles into stillness and your breath aligns fully with the quiet rhythm of the earth, we offer this closing peace. Let all that lingers now be gentle, the memory of woolly giants, the scent of invisible tundras, the feel of ancient cold warmed softly by thought. The age of mammoths has walked beside us with grace, teaching that strength can be slow, that endings can be soft, and that time wraps its echoes in silence rather than song. Sleep now, wrapped in the vast hush of their world, and carry their story inward, not for retelling tonight, but for holding close in that most sacred place where dream and memory intertwine. Good night, dear dreamer. Rest easy, and let the footsteps of the giants fade gently into the last snows of sleep. And so, beneath the final breath of frost and the vast quiet of ancient skies, the journey closes like a snowflake dissolving on sleeping skin, weightless and complete. Though the age of mammoths has passed, their memory lingers, not in noise, but in the stillness we now carry within. You have walked side by side with giants across the cold sweep of time, through story and silence alike, and now rest awaits you, whole and hushed. Let the remnants of their world settle gently in your dreams, where no step is forgotten and every shadow is soft. Thank you for wandering through the long, slow wonder. Sleep now in the deep calm of remembered earth, and may their footsteps forever echo softly across the landscape of your night. Good night. Let this be our last shared breath beneath the aurora-colored hush of ancient memory, where mammoth silhouettes dissolve like mist into the sleeping fold of time. There is no need now to hold on or to let go, only to drift, as they once did, through the silence that cradles both ending and forever. Close your eyes, dear listener, and let their wild gentleness become the still rhythm of your rest, the soft weight of snow above dreaming fields, the comfort of stories that do not fade but quiet.